Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Insights. Today, we will explore the life of Christopher Columbus, a man who changed the world, but also caused many debates. For a long time, Columbus was celebrated as a brave hero who discovered the Americas. Schools, books, and statues told the story of a great explorer. But now many people are asking new questions about his actions. They say Columbus brought harm to indigenous people, took their land, and started a period of suffering. In this lesson, you will discover the different sides of Columbus's story and improve your English skills at the same time. Now, let's begin. Part 1. Early Life in Italy. Christopher Columbus was born in 1451 in the city of Genoa, in Italy. His father was a wool weaver, and his mother took care of the family. They were not rich, but they worked hard. Columbus had 4 brothers and 1 sister, so the house was always full of noise and activity. When he was a young boy, Columbus loved the sea. He often watched ships come into the port of Genoa. He listened to the stories of sailors who traveled to far places. They talked about gold, spices, new lands, and great dangers. These stories made Columbus dream of adventure. Columbus did not go to school for many years, but he learned to read and write. He also studied maps and listened to older sailors. He loved learning about the world. At that time, many people in Europe wanted to explore. They wanted new trade routes to Asia because spices were very expensive and important for food. When Columbus was a teenager, he started working on ships. Life at sea was not easy. There were storms, hungry days, and dangerous fights with pirates. But Columbus did not give up. He became stronger and more experienced with every trip. He learned how to sail, how to read the stars, and how to repair a ship. Columbus traveled to many places around the Mediterranean Sea. He went to Spain, Portugal, and several islands. Sometimes he worked as a normal sailor. Other time he worked as a seller of goods like sugar or cloth. Every journey taught him something new. One day, Columbus read a book about Marco Polo, a famous traveler who went to China many years earlier. The stories of Marco Polo made Columbus believe that there were great riches in Asia. He thought to himself, if I find a new way to Asia, maybe I can become famous and help my country. At that time, people believed Asia was on the other side of the world. Most sailors traveled east around Africa, but the trip was long and dangerous. Columbus had a different idea. He thought the world was smaller than most people believed. He thought that if he sailed west across the Atlantic Ocean, he would reach Asia faster. Many experts said he was wrong, but Columbus felt sure about his idea. As Columbus became an adult, he became more confident. Many experts said he was wrong, but Columbus felt sure about his idea. As Columbus became an adult, he became more confident. He believed he was chosen by God to make a great discovery. His dream was big, and he was ready to take risks. Columbus wanted a chance to try his new route, but he needed ships, money, and support from a powerful king or queen. This was the beginning of his long journey, a journey that would change the world forever. Part 2. The Dream of a New Route. As Columbus grew older, his dream became stronger. He believed that the quickest way to Asia was to sail west, across the Atlantic Ocean. But there was a big problem. Columbus did not have ships or money. He needed a country to support his plan. First, Columbus traveled to Portugal. Portugal was famous for its sailors and explorers. Portuguese ships explored the coast of Africa and were getting closer to Asia. Columbus met the King of Portugal and told him about his idea. The king listened, but he did not believe Columbus. Many advisors said Columbus's plan was too risky. They were afraid the ships would get lost in the endless ocean. So Portugal said no. Columbus felt sad, but he did not stop. He moved to Spain. At that time, Spain was ruled by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Spain also wanted to explore more of the world because new lands could bring power, gold, and trade. Columbus hoped they would support him. At first, many Spanish leaders also said no. They thought Columbus was wrong about the size of the earth. They believed the ocean was too wide. They thought the sailors would die before reaching land. But Columbus continued to talk to important people. He tried again and again because he did not want to give up his dream. Finally, something changed. Spain wanted to be stronger than Portugal. They wanted new trade routes too. And Columbus promised that the journey would bring many riches. Queen Isabella was especially interested. She believed that Columbus could help Spain become a great power. In April 1492, after many years of waiting, Columbus received the answer he wanted. The king and queen agreed to give him 3 ships. They also said that, if he found new lands, he would become an important man. He would get money, power, and a new title, Admiral of the Ocean Sea. Columbus was very happy. He prepared for the journey quickly. He chose 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Niña. The sailors came from different places, and many of them were afraid. They did not know what was waiting for them on the other side of the ocean. But Columbus told them to be brave. He said they would find new lands and great treasures. On August 3rd, 1492, the 3 ships started their journey from Spain. Columbus stood proudly on the Santa Maria. He looked at the sea and thought about the future. He believed that God was guiding him. He believed he would reach Asia soon. The ocean was big and full of mystery. No one knew what they would find, but Columbus had hope. His dream, his plan, and his courage pushed him forward. This journey was not only for himself. It was for Spain, for the future, and for the great discovery he believed was waiting somewhere across the endless blue ocean. Part 3. The First Voyage and Discovery. The first days of the journey were calm. The 3 ships sailed along the coast of Africa. Many sailors still believed they were going in the wrong direction. They thought they should turn east toward Asia, not west into the open ocean. But Columbus told them to trust him. After a few weeks, the sailors could no longer see land. Everywhere they looked, there was only water. The days felt long and scary. Some men began to think they would never return home. They whispered to each other at night and complained. They worried about storms, sea monsters, and the unknown. Columbus tried to keep everyone calm. He studied the sky, the stars, and the wind every day. He wrote in his journal and told the men that land was near. Sometimes he told them they had traveled fewer miles than they really had. He wanted them to feel safe and not lose hope. The sailors saw seaweed and birds in the sky. This gave them a little hope, because birds usually live near land. Finally, on October 12, 1492, a sailor on the Finta shouted, "Land! Land!" Everyone rushed to the side of the ship. They were very happy. Their long journey was almost over. They reached an island in the Caribbean Sea. The land was green, warm, and beautiful. Columbus believed he had reached Asia. He called the people living there Indians because he thought he was near India. But the people were actually the native Taínos, who had lived on those islands for many years. The Taínos were kind and peaceful. They welcomed the strangers and gave them food, gifts, and help. Columbus looked at the gold jewelry worn by some Taínos. He thought there must be a lot of gold in the land. He wanted to take gold back to Spain because the king and queen expected riches. Columbus explored the island and other islands nearby. He named the first island San Salvador. He also visited places that today are part of Cuba and Haiti. Everywhere he went, he planted a flag of Spain to show that the land now belonged to Spain. The sailors were excited to see new animals, plants, and people. They tasted new foods like corn and tropical fruits. They saw parrots, palm trees, and clear blue water. Everything was different from Europe. But there were also problems. Columbus sometimes demanded too much from the Taínos. He believed Spain should control the islands. He wanted workers to help him find gold. This caused fear and confusion among the native people. After exploring for a few months, Columbus decided to return to Spain. He took several Taínos with him. He also brought gold, parrots, and other new things to show the king and queen. Columbus wanted Spain to believe that his journey was a great success. When he returned to Spain, people celebrated him like a hero. Many believed he had found a new path to Asia. They did not know that Columbus had reached a new continent. His discovery would change the world forever, for Europeans and for the native people who lived in the New World. Part 4. Life in the New World. After his first trip, Columbus became very famous in Spain. The king and queen were happy because he brought back gold, new plants, and people from the islands. They believed that Columbus had found a new and rich part of Asia. So, they gave him more ships, more men, and more support. They wanted him to build new colonies and bring back even more riches. Columbus returned to the Caribbean with a much bigger fleet. This time, there were 17 ships and more than 1,000 men. Some men were sailors, some were soldiers, and some wanted to find gold. They dreamed of a better and richer life in the New World. The islands were beautiful, but life there was not easy. Columbus and his men needed houses, food, and a safe place to live. They built the first Spanish town in the Americas, called La Navidad. It was on the island we now call Haiti. Columbus wanted this town to become strong and important. The Taíno people continued to be friendly at first. They helped the Spanish with food and shared knowledge about the land. But things soon changed. The Spanish wanted more gold than the Taínos could give. Columbus ordered some Taínos to work and find gold in rivers and mountains. The Taínos were not used to this kind of force. They began to feel afraid and angry. There were also problems among the Spanish men. Many of them wanted more gold for themselves. They did not want to follow the rules. Some men fought with others. Some tried to control the land without permission. Columbus had trouble keeping everyone peaceful. Sickness also became a big problem. European diseases arrived with the Spanish. The Taínos had never seen these illnesses before, so their bodies could not fight them. Many native people died from sickness, and this made life even harder for everyone. Columbus went on 3 more voyages to the New World. On each trip, he explored more islands in the Caribbean. He hoped to find great cities full of gold. But he only found small villages and simple homes. He became disappointed. Sometimes he felt angry and confused because the New World was not what he imagined. The Spanish king and queen also began to question Columbus. They wanted proof that he had found Asia. They wanted more gold and more success. Some people said Columbus was a bad leader. They argued that he did not treat his men well. Others said he was too cruel to the native people. Because of these problems, Columbus lost some of his power. He was even arrested for a short time when he returned to Spain. This was a very sad moment for him. The man who was once a hero was now seen as a failure by many. Still, Columbus did not give up. He continued to believe that he had found the way to Asia. His life in the New World was full of both hope and difficulty. The journey changed him, and it changed the lives of thousands of people forever. Part 5. Controversies and Dark Secrets. Christopher Columbus is a name many people know, but his story also has dark parts. These parts make many people feel sad and angry. We must learn them to understand the full history. When Columbus arrived, he met the Taíno and other native people. At first, the meetings were peaceful. The natives gave food and help. But soon the Spanish wanted more. They wanted gold, land, and workers. Columbus and his men forced many natives to work. They asked for gold and punished people who did not bring enough. This forced work was a form of slavery. Many native people were taken from their homes. They were moved to other islands. Some were sold to be workers. Families were broken. The new rules were very hard. People had to work long hours. They had little food. They were beaten when they did not work well. This treatment caused much suffering. Another terrible thing was disease. The Spanish brought new diseases from Europe. The native people had no medicine for these sicknesses. Smallpox, flu, and other illnesses spread fast. Many natives died. Whole villages had few survivors. The loss of life was huge. Disease changed the lives of the native people for many years. Violence and war also came. Columbus and his men fought with the native people in some places. The fights were often one-sided. The Spanish had weapons and armor. The native people had simple tools. Many natives were killed in battles. This made the region less safe and more fearful. Columbus also sent natives back to Spain as slaves or gifts. He wanted to show the king and queen that the new lands had people who could work and bring profit. This idea made colonization worse. More people from Europe came to take land and workers. The native way of life was lost in many places. Another problem was the wrong idea of discovery. For many Europeans, Columbus became a hero. But for the native people, the land was already lived in. Calling it a discovery ignored the millions of people who lived there first. This idea made the native people feel invisible. It also helped new colonizers say they had a right to take land. Because of these actions, many people now call Columbus an oppressor. Schools and cities begin to change how they teach and celebrate him. Some places removed statues of Columbus. Some changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. These changes show new respect for the people who lived in the Americas before Europeans. Not all people agree with this change. Some still say Columbus was brave. They say he sailed far and changed the world. They also say people should see history in its old context. This argument is part of the debate. Historians now try to tell both stories. They tell about Columbus's voyages and about the harm that followed. Schools, books, and museums show the voices of native people more often. People study old letters and records to learn what really happened. The controversies of Columbus remind us of a bigger idea. History has many sides. A hero for one group can be a villain for another. Learning the whole story helps us think and feel with more care. We can remember the bravery of exploration and also the pain that came after. This is how we can learn from the past and try to do better in the future. Part 6. Legacy and Debate. Christopher Columbus is remembered as a very important figure in history. Many people say he discovered the Americas. He opened the way for European exploration in the New World. Because of his voyages, Europe and the Americas became connected for the first time. This changed the world forever. For many years, Columbus was seen as a great hero. Children learned about him in school. People celebrated him with parades and holidays. Statues of Columbus were built in many cities. He represented bravery, curiosity, and adventure. He was a sailor who crossed the ocean when many people thought it was impossible. However, not everyone sees Columbus as a hero today. Many historians now say the Americas were already home to millions of indigenous people. They had their own cultures, cities, and histories long before Columbus arrived. So, Columbus did not discover a new land. He arrived in a land that was already full of life. There is also another serious problem. Columbus and his men brought harm to indigenous people. They forced people to work. They took gold and other valuables. Many indigenous people became sick from new diseases brought from Europe. Wars and violence also destroyed communities. Because of this, some people believe Columbus should not be celebrated. Today, many people are thinking again about Columbus's legacy. Some cities in the United States have changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. They want to honor the original people of the Americas instead of celebrating someone who caused them suffering. Statues of Columbus have been removed in some places because of protests. Other people still defend Columbus. They say he was brave and worked hard to achieve his dreams. They believe he changed the world and helped build modern society. They also argue that he lived in a different time, when people had different beliefs. They say we should not judge the past only by modern values. So, who is the real Columbus? A hero, a villain, or something in between? The truth is complex. He opened a new chapter in world history, but this chapter included pain, loss, and conflict. Today, studying Columbus teaches us an important lesson. History is not only one story, it includes many voices and many truths. Columbus's story encourages us to think deeply, ask questions, and understand different sides. His legacy continues to be a subject of debate, and it will likely continue for many years.